So I'm Steve, aka BCee from Spearhead Records.
I'm Drew, aka Villem.
Sort of from Spearhead Records.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, and together we have come up with the Vanguard project. And today we are going to take you through our process of working together, and the way we collaborate is probably quite different to how some people work together. So we are going to start from scratch, and hopefully by the end of this tutorial have more or less a full track. So we thought we'd take you through our working process. We work on a track at the same time from two different machines, from two different DAWs. I use Ableton and Drew Villem uses Logic. So we just thought we'd take you today what that process looks like, how we can quickly pull a track together. We finish a track most weeks in a day, and as productive as we can be. We've both got families, so we want to just crack on with it as much as we can around fitting everything else in, which is a good driving force to get stuff done. So most of our tracks are going to be about vibe rather than super sound design, and we just want to really let you into that kind of trick today. So we've started something this morning just before filming, and we're going to take you through the process of where we've got up to with that. So I usually start off in Ableton. So what you'll see on my screen here is that I've just started to put a beat together, and I've got a little loop here, and that's where we're going to start from today. So I started off with just this break today. Now all of this stuff, none of this I've made from scratch. This is all breaks from sample packs or from old tracks or stuff I've put together a while ago, and then we've just built it up. Now for the sake of that they're only sample pack samples, I don't need to show you how to make all of them. You can just go and find them yourselves. I'm just going to go through how that they're built up. So if I just play you this audio track 2 here, that's our solid break. I've then layered it up with this, and I'll just flick through the others. A little bit of tops on the rides, more tops, more tops, more tops, and more tops really. Shakers, extra snare. This is from like a dub reggae sample pack. I think this is a breakage pack, jungle tambourines. I think this is breakage as well. Tiny shaker. And this percussion is like dub ammo, I think it's called. So, you know, stuff that you can just get from one of many popular sample-based websites. If we put them all together, what I'll often do here, just in Ableton quickly, is add a compressor onto that just to tighten it up a bit. And Ableton's got this fantastic mixed gel compressor that's really simple, that just tightens all that up a bit. I've put all of that into one group as it is, and then we've got a nice solid beat, which is a good starting place for a track. In drum and bass, the drums are quite important. So what I'll do at this point is I will just now save all of that stuff to Dropbox. So I'll just do an export of that, and export all the individual tracks over to our Dropbox. You'll see some funny name stuff in here. We never know what to call tracks. If you get stuck on that as well, you'll see we've got Banger Time, Man Hoovers, The Cat's Beard, Man Flu, Brethren, Egg and Spoon. So some very interesting ones. This one is aptly named Banger Time. So I've done it already, but I would just then save the whole lot into there and then send that over to Drew for him to start working on the beat. Once he's got that, let me just open up one I saved earlier on. Again, most of these sounds are from sample packs. I've just now added, what have we got here? Let's close that group down. So I have added here, started to now add here a few more sounds. So if I turn all these off.
You've generally always got a vibe going. You get a beat and then you'll get like some melodic stuff before I even see it.
Yeah, before you, yeah. And we'll get, we want to do a banger, not make something too musical. I tend to make some put too much stuff in and make it too musical. But we wanted this one to be a bit of a dancey sort of thing. So I've just started to build up, again, sample pack samples that fit. So we've got this squeal thing in there. Oh, sorry. Let's try that again. We've got this eerie sound in there. Crickets.
The thing is, you might
wind
call it
downs. I mean, I call them all sorts of names.
You might call it banger time, but you might end up it being not banger time and end up being like a musical one. But like the sort of initial sort of tune name doesn't necessarily mean it's going to end up like that, does it?
No, we just get stuck with names. There's my whizzer. I'll just show you all of the bits that are in here so far. An effects thing, and I've just spent, you know, about half an hour this morning just going through getting samples to look fit together for the vibe we want to create for this. I'll play you that one. And the final one that's here at the moment. And I've put at the moment the only processing on that whole thing is the compressor on the beat. I won't do that much processing here in my quick processor putting together a track, because we want to do that in Logic over on Drew's computer once we've got access to everything. So if I just stick all of them sounds in, you can have a listen to my loop, which now sounds like this. Which is a good starting place for me to now send that over via Dropbox to Drew. So again, I'll just go into Ableton, export all individual track. Actually, I only want selected tracks only. I've got them all selected here, and export them into the Dropbox, where they will magically go over to Drew, and I'll hand over to you to take it from there.
Yeah. So once Steve sent all the individual tracks over via Dropbox, they'll just appear in here, and I'll just take all of those, drag and drop into Logic, and the first thing I'll do is select all the tracks and just bring the channels down by like 10 dB. So I just want loads and loads of headroom. I don't want everything like sort of hitting quite hard. I find just doing that just really helps in terms of sort of not getting too distorted on your master bus. And then I'll bring all the levels back up using mastering. So that's sort of the first thing I'll do. So then I'll start trying to sort of think of what sort of bass line. 9 times out of 10, Steve will come with the vibes. Then I'll get a bass line in and then fire it back to Steve. And then Steve will get sort of more samples and back to me, and we'll go backwards and forwards like that. So just having a look here, all from here downwards up to there, that's all sort of Steve's original samples. Now I'll sort of beef the break with some of my own sort of pre-made breaks that are available on my sample packs.
Quick plug.
Buy my sample packs if you want these beats. But so these are kind of pre-made beats that me and McLeod have made. And I use my own sample pack beats. I mean, I don't know if everyone does that, but they're really solid. So if I just solo all the drums, maybe there's a few more. So that's kind of like Steve's original beat, with a few things kind of taken out at the moment. And I just wanted to give it just a little bit more sort of beef. Just wanted a bit more punch and just a bit more weight to it. And a lot of that's coming from this break here. This break I literally use so many times, probably like 8 out of 10 tracks. I'll probably put that beat in there, and just gives it punch on the kick, punch on the snare. It's just one of them beats that I made that just seems to go in every single track, just because it's got all the right frequencies.
He's not lazy.
If I find something that works, I'll just rinse it.
I think it's good to say as well, like the way that we do all of our beats, when it's like a lot of sample based beats and you're not kind of super processing all your kicks and snares, we get loads and loads of layer after layer of breaks, percussion, fills, tops, and like when it sounds full, stick another one in there. True. Really. And so often like a break might sound quite good, but it's just missing that kind of top end, so we'll make sure that we find another loop just to bring the tops out. So for me, one of the keys to using sample based, like sample pack stuff to build your breaks from is getting a lot in there, and then just using your processing just to really pull them apart a bit.
Definitely, yeah. I think because once you start, you think you've got a nice beat, and then you start putting all the other samples on top, and suddenly that beat just doesn't seem as good anymore.
Yeah. And
then you've kind of got to bring it back up to fill up the mix.
And from the perspective of a label owner, for me looking for tracks, I know that a lot of the time I get really good musical tracks, but the focus has shifted from what makes drum and bass, which is the drums and the bass.
Yeah, so I've got these 3 extra beats on top of Steve's beat just to really sort of fill it out. And that just fills up the mix. And so from there, we kind of want to get some bassline ideas in. With basslines, I'll tend to get, where's the original? This is the original one. I'll tend to get a synth up, and I'll start jamming on the keyboard a bassline. So I've got a very sort of basic skeleton bassline, which is this one. You know,
and that's from the Hive synth, right,
yeah,
Drew?
That's from the Hive, yeah, that's from the Hive synth.
Get that sucker up.
Wicked little synth. All the Yuhi stuff I really like, the Diva and the Hive, they're all just great little synths. So yeah, it sounds sort of quite basic on its own, but I just like to get the notes that are kind of feeling nice with all the other elements in the tune, with a basic synth, and then we start layering on top of that. If we just go into the MIDI here, so yeah, it's pretty simple really. Starts off on a sort of E flat up to an F, and then a little flourish here. So it's not, you don't want it moving around too much, I think, in drum and bass. You just want it to be fairly steady. You've got to find that sweet spot there. I think it's difficult to find the sweet spot.
Let's have a listen to that then.
Yeah. Should we just solo it?
Yeah, and then with the track.
So yeah, it sounds all right on its own. It sounds a little bit shit, to be honest. But when you kind of get other layers on, then it starts. Yeah, I'm sort of using it for like a certain weight. Also got a tremolator on there. This thing we use a lot. This kind of input gain here, I think, is really sweet, because if I take the tremolator off, it kind of sounds like that, and with the sort of the input pushed a bit, it sort of doesn't sound any different, but it sounds subtly different. There's a little subtle kind of distortion to it.
I think it's fair to say, Drew, if you get that tremolator back up as well,
yeah,
that is one of the Vanguard project weapons of choice.
Definitely.
So we use this for loads and loads of stuff, for vocal effects, for bass lines. If you've heard any of our tracks which have got the kind of real choppy kind of vocal sounding, it's the tremolator that has been used for all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and the tremolator basically, it's really just a volume envelope, and it just makes the volume just do that. You couldn't really hear it that much because the depth wasn't that high, but if I jack the depth up to there, you can hear what it's doing. So that's what it's doing. But I just had it subtly. I didn't want it to be wobbling too hard. So once I had that basic skeleton of the bass line, I then started using the virus and pulled down the bass line onto the virus MIDI output, and then just started scanning through the different presets on the virus to see if anything sounded good, and kind of came across this one. So it gives it some more texture, basically. You can hear it in the mix. Yeah, so it's just sort of adding texture, a bit like the beats. You kind of want to stack up your different bass noises, so it's sounded thicker and it's got more interest to it. And same with this one. This is another bass layer, another hive, and it's just giving it a little bit of punch at the start of the bass line.
And is that just a preset on the hive, Drew?
Yeah. Nothing sort of too magical going on there. It's just a preset with all the bass rolled off. So we're just getting that sort of top end punch, more tremolators. Again, it's pretty subtle, but it's just stacking up the bass notes, basically.
Okay, so Drew's got a bass line together just to get us started. That might change later on in the track as we go along, but particularly when you're trying to make drum and bass, which is a little bit more slamming, but with that musical edge still, you need to get your bass line in quite early on. Otherwise, you know, you've got nothing to work to and it becomes super musical and too kind of airy-fairy, and there's no real drive to it. So looking at my screen here, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take all of the sounds that I've already got in there, and I'm just going to stick them into a group so that I know what I'm doing. So as you can see, there's quite a bit in there already, and I'll just put them up there. So at the moment, that's what I had before, but now Drew has just sent me back in my Dropbox here. What's it called? Banger Times. There we go. And somewhere here is TVP Banger Time MP3. I'm just going to stick that in there. Come on, baby. And then all of a sudden we've changed that over to that. So I'll just mute them channels for the moment, and then I'm going to work with this, which I'm just going to boost up a bit there so I can hear it, unwarp it so it's definitely the right speed. And also weirdly, when you get a lot of these exports, you'll find that the cutoff of it isn't, like the first beat isn't actually right at the very start. So it's quite important just to go in and just cut that so that the beat is actually on the beat. Otherwise, when I start sending stuff to Drew back to him again, everything's going to be slightly out of time and he's going to be wondering what on earth's going on. So it is important, especially when collabing like this, that you kind of keep everything fairly tight. So just by copy and pasting that over there, in theory that should be a good loop now. Okay, there we go. So I've already found some bits for this. So and because we were working on this one earlier, so I found some things like this trance ARP here. So I'll drag that straight in. Again, that was just from a sample pack. Some of these bits I continually will use SoundForge to just sample stuff all of the time. Stuff from sources that I'm meant to, and stuff from other sources, and just use whatever sounds we can to manipulate. I don't want to say too much about that. Some of these we've got like a Moog stab here. I found a little, let's take the one without delay. So I've got the Go stab there like I found earlier, Hammond organ like I found earlier, Love Vox found earlier on, which needs a new channel. I think I've just deleted it. That's not very good. So we'll just do Command T to make a new channel.
And you always leave your samples dry, don't you? Don't put reverb or delay. You leave that for me to do.
The majority
so I've got
of the
more,
time.
I've got more freedom to manipulate it.
And I think I've just lost the Love Vox. Oh no, there we go. So all of this lot, because I've used it already, should be in the right place. But I'll show you my process for quickly finding samples in a moment, because having a good organised library helps to work at this kind of quicker pace. So like I have already shown you, we've got the looplet Drew's added bass to there, and I'll turn these on as we go along. So here's this one I found called Trance Arp, and I've chopped that up a little bit just to add something to the background. A bit loud, so I'll turn it down a bit. And then we've got a little stab thing here. Actually sounds ridiculous.
But a bit of reverb on now.
Yeah, we'll get rid of that one for the moment. What was this one? Ah, this is... Okay, so that's just a little chop at the middle of something, which sounds a bit weird on its own. So this one I have given you with effects on. So that's just got the, again, a standard Ableton thing. Just this ping pong delay onto there. Comes up down here, and we'll put that over there somewhere. Mostly dry.
And you'll just tend to just stack and just keep going, and you'll give me not all of it I can use, but you're just kind of feeding me like almost like a sample pack.
What do you mean not all of it you can use?
No, some of it
I'm like gold. I'm like a gold mine.
So some of it's shit, but no, most of it is like spot on.
All of it. So yeah, we're gonna get the Go samples now. Got the delay on it. So if I put that in with what we've already got, you can see the tracks building up nicely. If I turn it on, try that again. And then the other thing is you kind of have to adjust your way of thinking a little bit working like this. So I'm not overthinking the arrangement. I'm kind of thinking, I know that this sound will sound good somewhere in the track. So we might make a loop with like 50 different sounds in, like actually when the track's running and it's finally arranged, there's only 10 of them sounds working together at once. I just want to get things that are going to fit together and that I know are going to sound cool. So this next sound, this organ sound that I found, would sound ridiculous running through the track, but I can picture that already working towards the end of the track before the breakdown. Found this nice Hammond organ, which goes like this. And again, kind of sounds weird on its own.
I just love that shimmer. It's nice.
It's already got a tremolo. Take Me to Church. Right, so we put that in as well. And I know that this is going to come in useful later on. And then we want a little vocal sample or something in there. So I flick through loads of samples. And the great thing with Ableton is it automatically time stretches stuff pretty accurately. And then if it doesn't quite fit, you can just go into the warp markers down here, mark them wherever you want, and stretch stuff out as much or as little as you want. So I found this little vocal, which is only roughly in there at the moment. But I can use this just to stretch that out wherever I want. This will sound stupid, but if I stretch that out that far for argument's sake. So you can, working with samples in Ableton is amazing because of this warp markers thing. So again, if we look at that I Need Love section there, I can zoom in as much as I want on there, mark that wherever I want. Stretch that word love out a bit more. So you can change the whole way it phrases. If it's not in the right key, you can transpose it as well, and it still retains the same warp markers. We'll put that back up to where it was. And it just gives you so much flexibility with samples. That actually sounded okay. And now we'll come back to this, but one of the ways I really quickly find samples is that we use a piece of software called Mixed in Key, which is used for really DJ purposes. And I'll load that up for you. So this is Mixed in Key, and it's mainly used for just, come on, if it's going to work. It's mainly used for just browsing your track collection and using what they call the Camelot mixing system, which I'll show you here if you look on this tutorial. Harmonic Mixing 101, puts the keys with a number of what will kind of work together. So I've actually sorted my samples by using mixed in key. I am not musically trained in any way, shape or form. It's all kind of ear to me and working out what I've done wrong and what kind of sounds right and wrong. So this track, I know that all of these samples so far are in my 4A selection, which this tells me should in theory be F minor. And so I can work out from that if I need to change the pitch of a sample, how many semitones to move that, or if I want to find other samples just directly in that key. They don't all work, but it's a really quick and easy way to find stuff. So for example, and I haven't found anything earlier for this, if I make a new track here, and if I just put 4A in my search box in Ableton here, I've got all of this stuff here. So like sample packs October 2015. Let's go for this one because it's a drum and bass one, and let's go for there's nothing musical come up. Let's go for melodic vibes, ambience, and it will show me some samples there that in theory are the same key. I wanted to get something a bit more musical. Let's try melodic loops. Okay, let's try that one. So I'll just try dropping some of these sounds in. Okay, so that could work with a little bit of choppage. So if I put that in here, well, I now check what that sounds like on its own. Okay, kind of just repeating, so I'll take that bit. I always just tend to see what things sound like backwards on everything, just because sometimes you hit magic. Okay, and I kind of like that on its own, perhaps. And then maybe even not the whole thing. So let's take that a bit shorter. I'm going to cut that there. And then I think that might sound good somewhere like at the end of a bar. Let's try it over here. It's in the wrong place. Might sound ridiculous now, but we'll have a go. We'll turn it down a bit. Yeah, that absolutely doesn't work in the slightest. So let's try something else.
But
and we'll just forget that one.
That like method when you showed me that for writing like musical drum and bass, that's absolute gold. Just being able to take all of your samples and just get everything that's in tune with your tune just saves so much time. Like before, you'd just be searching through different samples. It would just take such a long time before you could find something that was in tune. So
these samples are gold. I guarantee you one of these will work without even listening to it.
Big talk.
So there we go. Straight away, a little guitar twang.
That was nice.
A little gurgle sound. Not so much. Let's try something in this folder. So, you know, we might not want to use any of them in the finished thing, but straight away there I found 3 potential sounds. Just to start working into the project. So I spend, although we only like really work together a day a week, I will spend absolutely ages and ages at home in the evening or in my studio in the day or whatever, making new samples, finding good sample packs and hunting through them for the gold, organising them, so it does make it quicker and easier when we're together to find stuff. Sample packs are great. You kind of sometimes have to really dig to find what you're looking for, so I'll just kind of do that at home, delete all the bits that are rubbish, and it just helps us to have quite a fast process and really just capture the vibe that we're going for. So I've already deleted all the stuff that I think hasn't got that thing that attracts me to it. So more and more my sample collection as it grows is stuff that I know I want to use at some point and just carries a little vibe, for want of a better word.
Sure.
So I've found some extra stuff. I've chucked that back to Drew, and we're going to go on from there.
Yeah. I mean, while Steve's doing all of that, I'm not sitting here doing nothing. I'm literally sort of building the tune whilst he's doing that. So we're literally working at twice the pace as if we were together just on one computer. We're literally, so Steve's sampling, finding loads of different new samples. And whilst he was doing that, I'd probably be sort of trying to work on the beat, trying to make the beat a bit better. But we've kind of got the beat, we've got a lot of different noises now. And I think once we've got the bass line, I'm going to start thinking about the arrange, trying to sort of build an intro, and then get a feel for if the bass line's working on the drop. Because I think once you build an intro, and then you let it drop with the bass, sometimes the bass just it seems it's not the one. So I'm going to do that now and build a quick intro. So at the moment we've got every single noise is happening at the same time at the moment. Now we just want to, obviously in the intro you want to strip it back. So I'd probably just repeat this whole 32 bars here, get rid of all the bass. This is all bass here, and just for the purposes of the video, I'll just make the drop at 33. I'd
strip out some of them beats as well at the start.
Yeah, probably keep the beat a bit more sort of chilled. So move these up to here.
That snare stuff.
That's it, yeah. So yeah, keep it quite stripped back and let it build up. Okay, we don't want too much bass in there because we want it to build up. And then we kind of, I mean, I feel like we kind of need sort of more of an intro sort of main sample, don't you think? Like it's quite stripped back.
Yeah, we'll have a look for some stuff in a few minutes.
Because even that organ, I know we said to have it in the middle, but you could use that for
try that.
For like a little build.
I think maybe put a filter on it.
Yeah, kind of sweep it up, okay.
Well, I just take off all the tops a bit, muffle it a bit. And then hold it as it drops.
Okie dokie. So I'm just going to drop the beats out just before the bass, just to give you an idea that something's going to happen. Like, so the bass is going to come in. Just going to use the marquee tool here and just chop out the last bar. Yeah. So that just gives you a little breather, it's like telling you something's going to happen. I'm going to save it. You've got to save all the time. So I'm just going to use an EQ just so we can bring in this Hammond organ a bit more subtly. And what I'm doing here is just automating this high cut. So it just opens out more. So the sound starts off muffled and then it just gets sort of wider and wider.
What was that? Ooh.
Lose that.
Get rid of them for the minute.
So just by doing that very simple intro, I can already feel that the drops kind of. I don't think it's necessarily the bass. I think it's like the pace of the beats. It kind of feels like it needs to be a bit more sort of going for it.
Why don't you as well use one of them vocals and try putting a bit of tremolo on it?
Tremolo.
Tremolo, I mean. Yeah, not it's one of my Delisms, mate.
Tremolo, I like it.
The other day I used the word pleurisy instead of plagiarism at completely the wrong place. Idiot.
Maybe a bit quicker.
Can you get the old love, love, love?
So yeah, you can use the tremolo like that. When we tend to use that as a variation, so we'll leave it sort of clean without the tremolo on, just like that, and then maybe the second pass of the vocal, we'll put the tremolo on. It just breaks it up a bit, so you're not just hearing the same sample twice.
So thanks for watching the first half of our Vanguard project tutorial. A little bit about our creative process. If you want to find out what the rest of the track ends up sounding like, then go out and grab yourself Computer Music Magazine now.